Pull up the maintenance schedule for any new car sold in 2026. Toyota says 10,000 miles. BMW says 15,000 miles. Some manufacturers are pushing 20,000 miles between oil changes. They are telling you to leave the same oil circulating through your engine for an entire year. And it sounds great on paper. Fewer oil changes means lower cost of ownership. Lower cost of ownership means more people buy the car. That is the point. These extended oil change intervals are not an engineering recommendation. They are a marketing strategy. And by the time the consequences show up inside your engine, the warranty has expired, the dealership has moved on, and the repair bill is yours. Here is what is actually happening to your oil between those changes, and why every independent mechanic in the country is telling you to ignore the number on your dashboard. To understand why manufacturers extend oil change intervals, you have to understand how cars are sold today. When a buyer compares two vehicles side by side, one of the factors they look at is cost of ownership over 5 years. If one car requires an oil change every 5,000 miles and the competitor says 10,000, the competitor looks cheaper to maintain on the brochure. It is not cheaper. It just pushes the cost further down the road. But by the time that cost arrives, it arrives as a $6,000 engine repair, not a $60 oil change. And by that point, you are no longer the manufacturer's problem. Manufacturers set these intervals under what they call normal driving conditions, and this is where the entire system falls apart. Normal driving conditions, according to most owners' manuals, mean steady highway cruising at moderate temperatures with minimal stops. That is not how most people drive. Most people drive in stop-and-go traffic. Most people make short trips under 10 miles where the engine never fully reaches operating temperature. Most people drive in extreme heat or extreme cold. Most people idle in traffic, drive on dusty roads, or carry heavy loads. Every single one of those conditions is classified as severe driving in the fine print of your owner's manual. And under severe conditions, the recommended interval drops dramatically. Some manufacturers cut it in half, but they do not put the severe schedule on the dashboard. They do not program the oil life monitor to default to severe conditions. They default to the optimistic number because the optimistic number sells cars. So what actually happens to motor oil over 10,000 or 15,000 miles? It degrades in 4 ways simultaneously. First, thermal breakdown. Every time your engine heats up and cools down, the oil molecules are stressed. High temperatures cause the molecular chains in the oil to crack and shorten. This reduces the oil's viscosity and its ability to maintain a protective film between metal surfaces. The hotter the engine runs and the more thermal cycles it goes through, the faster this happens. Turbocharged engines, which now dominate the market, run significantly hotter than naturally aspirated engines. That tiny turbo spinning at over 100,000 revolutions per minute is lubricated entirely by your engine oil. If that oil has lost its viscosity, the turbo bearing is running on a film that is too thin to protect it. Second, contamination. As the engine runs, combustion byproducts blow past the piston rings and enter the oil. Soot, fuel residue, moisture, and microscopic metal particles from normal engine wear accumulate in the oil over time. The oil's detergent additives are designed to keep these contaminants suspended so they can be trapped by the filter, but those additives have a finite lifespan. Once they are depleted, the contaminants begin to clump together and form sludge. Sludge is the silent killer of engines. It restricts oil passages, starves bearings and cam lobes of lubrication, and reduces the oil's ability to cool the engine internally. Third, oxidation. Exposure to oxygen thickens the oil over time. This is a chemical reaction that accelerates with heat. Thickened oil flows slower through the engine, particularly during cold starts when protection matters most. Fourth, fuel dilution. In direct injection engines, which are now standard in most modern vehicles, unburned fuel can wash past the piston rings and dilute the oil. This is especially common during short trips where the engine never fully warms up and the fuel does not completely combust. Fuel dilution thins the oil, reducing its protective capability. Independent oil analysis labs like Blackstone Laboratories regularly detect fuel dilution in samples from direct injection engines, and it is consistently worse in samples from drivers who do primarily short-trip driving. Now, the oil change interval debate is not black and white. And here is where I am going to be honest with you, because this channel does not deal in fear, it deals in facts. Modern full synthetic oils are genuinely impressive. Blackstone Laboratories, the most respected independent oil analysis lab in the country, has tested hundreds of thousands of oil samples from every engine type imaginable. In many cases, particularly with quality synthetic oils in engines that are driven primarily on the highway, their lab results show that the oil still has protective capability remaining at 10,000 miles and beyond. They frequently recommend that owners with clean reports try extending their intervals even further. But here is the critical detail. Those results are engine-specific and driver-specific. A Toyota Camry driven 80% highway with full synthetic oil is going to produce a vastly different oil sample at 10,000 miles than a Ford F-150 EcoBoost that sits in stop-and-go traffic, makes short trips in cold weather, and occasionally tows a trailer. Same mileage, completely different oil condition, the manufacturer gives both drivers the same number on the dashboard. And that is the lie. Not that 10,000 miles is always too long, but that the same interval is applied to every driver regardless of how they actually use their vehicle. The oil life monitors in modern cars attempt to account for this by factoring in engine temperature, RPM, and drive time, but they cannot measure the actual chemical condition of the oil. They are running an algorithm based on assumptions. They do not know your oil's viscosity, its contamination level, its remaining additive package, or its fuel dilution percentage. The only way to know those things is to physically test the oil, and almost nobody does that. So what happens when it goes wrong? Sludge buildup inside the engine restricts oil flow to critical components. The first things to starve are the parts that are farthest from the oil pump and highest in the engine: cam lobes, cam phasers, variable valve timing actuators, and turbocharger bearings. These components rely on a steady supply of clean oil at proper viscosity. When sludge restricts that supply, the wear accelerates exponentially. Cam phaser failures are now one of the most common and expensive repairs across multiple manufacturers. Ford's 3.5-liter EcoBoost and GM's Active Fuel Management Bi-8 engines are particularly notorious for this. A cam phaser replacement can run $2,000 to $4,000 at a dealership. A turbocharger replacement on a modern four-cylinder can cost $2,500 to $5,000. A complete engine replacement due to oil starvation can exceed $8,000 to $12,000 depending on the vehicle. Compare that to the cost of changing your oil more frequently. A quality synthetic oil change costs $60 to $100. If you change every 5,000 miles instead of 10,000, that is one extra oil change per year on an average driver's mileage. You are paying an extra $60 to $100 per year as insurance against a repair that could cost you $5,000 to $10,000. That is the math the manufacturer does not want you to do, because the moment you do it, the 10,000-mile interval looks like what it is: a gamble that benefits the brochure, not your engine. So here is what smart owners do. First, read the severe driving conditions section of your owner's manual. If your daily driving matches even one of those conditions, and it almost certainly does, follow the severe schedule, not the normal one. For most vehicles, that means 5,000 to 7,500 miles with full synthetic oil. Second, use quality full synthetic oil and a quality filter every time. Do not let the quick lube shop put in whatever bulk conventional oil they have in the tank. Synthetic oil handles heat better, resists oxidation longer, and maintains viscosity more consistently than conventional oil. The price difference is $15 to $20 per change. Over the life of your engine, that is nothing. Third, if you want to actually know what is happening inside your engine instead of guessing, send an oil sample to Blackstone Laboratories. It costs about $30. You pull a sample at your next oil change, mail it in, and they send you back a full report showing exactly how much wear metal is in the oil, whether there is fuel dilution, whether the additive package is depleted, and whether your current interval is appropriate for your specific engine and driving habits. This is the only way to replace guessing with data. Fourth, never skip the oil change just because the dashboard says you still have 30% oil life remaining. That number is a prediction, not a measurement. It cannot tell you what is actually happening to the oil at a molecular level. Trust the mileage and the conditions, not the algorithm. And fifth, pay special attention if you drive a turbocharged engine, a direct injection engine, or any vehicle that sees frequent short trips. These are the conditions that kill oil fastest, and they are the most common driving patterns in the country. The manufacturer wants you to believe that less maintenance is better maintenance. It is not. Less maintenance is cheaper marketing. Your engine does not care what is on the brochure. It cares about the oil that is flowing through it right now. If you want to stop falling for the traps the auto industry builds into every vehicle they sell, subscribe to Car Unlock. We cut through the marketing, expose the engineering shortcuts, and give you the real numbers the dealership will never show you. Share this with anyone who trusts their oil life monitor blindly. It might be the cheapest engine save they ever get. We will see you in the next one.